Is there like a lack of direction on the team?
I think drastic change will come.
Are there any specific teams or players you'd like to play against if you get the opportunity?
I actually think it'll be a pretty 50-50, if not like 55-45 type of fight. Seems like every time I greet our superfan, I'm a disappointment.
Well, every time we talk, you win afterwards, so I think it's a good sign.
Maybe.
I'm joined by Reven. Sorry for that loss. Last year on TSM, you said something that honestly I kind of agree with. Where if Reddit or like the fan sentiment says that you did something wrong, you probably did something right, and if they and vice versa. I think it was in response to people calling you out for drafting Sejuani mid for Insanity. A lot of people have been calling out the draft, leaving open Skarner both times. Can you elaborate why you sort of decided to leave him open both games?
Internally, and I can't double check information right now, but well, especially internally, we considered it equal trade, Rumble and Skarner. And Corki was another one when stuff like Talia, regarding like Talia Vi, when Tristana was down, we considered Corki like a proud pick because we would have a strong AP champ early, an AD carry champ mid. So in our eyes, at least going into the game, we thought we got two proud picks for one, is how we saw it. Which may have changed, not just because we lost 2-0, but I think the way the champs functioned against us, and because of how we generally like to play, I think in hindsight, right now, it was a miscalculation.
All right, that's fair. What sort of going from game one to game two? What factors do you have to take into consideration when you decide, hey, we're actually going to stay on the same side and we're going to play a very similar comp instead of changing things up and getting a brand new fresh game?
Going into details because it's already said and done. I think we stuck with the general logic that we got 2 for 1. We did the same. They take Skarner, we take Rumble Corki. They did Nautilus and is it Hui? I think it was Hui. Yes, it was Hui. And then we just matched support. Last time we did jungle, which allowed not like a counter pick, but we also we just blended jungle when we wanted to put Tomio in a more of a comfortable position. So we gave him last pick this time, and we just matched well into Nautilus, and then we just picked Ballista because they could wanted more fightability with our bot lane, and then we just last pick Nidalee for Tomio.
All right. You had mentioned something earlier about the way Shopify likes to play. I noticed in game two was more about getting like prio lanes and trying to stack the grubs and dragons. And you did get 2 dragons early on. What is there like a lack of direction on the team? Because sometimes it feels like late game, the engages that are happening, the positions that you guys are in, it just seems a little directionless.
2 things I think that were very different from scrims to stage today was that I think we are generally pretty good at swapping and swap timers, but we failed pretty miserably on that today, both games. And then the second part is, I don't want to blame intangibles such as nerves, but like just a little minor note. I think the third one was, they punished us really well with our lack of setup and formation going into mid game. Like we got pushed out of our jungle when our strong side laner was catching our waves in tier 2 and stuff like that. We as a team should recognize more often, which we didn't, and I think that was just a complete failure on my part.
I really appreciate these like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Specifically first game, because I think second game, as soon as we didn't get first grubs, first Drake, etc., because we had we had Callista, Nidalee, Rumble, we had a very snowbally comp. So we failed to snowball early for unfortunate reasons, which was just it was pretty hard from there. But first game, I think we were in a pretty decent slash even spot going into mid game, and then there were some points, like for example, they had Skarner Nautilus, Zinzao, Zeri, and Hui, which are much better front to back, and we have like Varus, Rumble, uh, Sejuani. Our comp better functions on like small chokes using like Rel Rumble ults. So we should have probably gotten into neutral objectives, taking Banana Bush, smalling and like fighting in small corridors rather than fighting in mid. And I think a lack of emphasis on that, and we just wanted to fight. So not knowing or teaching per se on how to play our comp um, led to the defeat in game one specifically. Game two, I think it was just a hard task, and a hard task didn't go through.
I really appreciate like the detail you go into and even like the examples that you're giving. A lot of times when I ask these questions, I don't really ask other coaches or players these questions. Who'll be like, "Oh yeah, well we made a couple misplays, and if we just played better, we would have won," which is like not really saying much. But I appreciate the answers. I have one last question about sort of the games. I guess more in a general sense. Fake God had mentioned to me after the boot camp that you guys really focus on fundamentals. Are these things that you're mentioning now the kind of stuff that you guys worked on, or is this something that you haven't really gotten to yet, and this is like the next step?
Well, clearly we failed. Well, second game I think it was hard. Second game I think it was hard to do the fundamentals to begin with because we always have to put the pedal to the metal in that one. So it's not even just fundamentals at that point. You just need to know how to snowball using a snowball comp, which is like an advanced which is beyond fundamentals. But I think game one was a lack of fundamentals, so that is my problem.
All right, a bit more a lighter question. Brazil next year is going to merge, obviously, with North America, and your Twitter handle till today is actually Flanalista, right? Like Flamingo's analyst. You have a lot of ties with CBLOL. You played there. You've coached a little bit there. Are there any specific teams or players you'd like to play against if you get the opportunity?
Oh, most of them. I always like whenever I watch CBLOL because the like most NA players aren't as informed about CBLOL. I personally think like strong teams like Pain, Loud. I think I see that Fluxo is doing right now. For me, I always felt like the top three teams, specifically the top two teams like Pain and Loud. My impression was that they could pretty easily place top four in LCS. So the battle between those teams and NA consistently, I think, will be fun to watch because what happens most of the time is CBLOL teams like face like they get to like generally the last round of play-ins and then they kind of unfortunately quote unquote choke sometimes and they don't get to the main robin. But I think if we were to put like top LCS teams versus top CBLOL teams, it won't even be one-sided in any way. I actually think it'll be a pretty 50-50, if not like 55-45 type of fight.
All right, I'm a Pinzechi, so I'm happy to hear that. But yeah, well, we'll see. Last question for you. I'm a big believer in like trusting the process, and I actually think you're a really good coach. I'm very happy that Shopify picked you up and gave you a shot. We also have a 3 week break, so I'm not too worried with like the team improving over time. But I've seen a lot of people saying, "Okay, writing's on the wall. Are we even going to win a game like a single match?" Do you have any words for like the fans that are worried, or yeah, they're worried we might just be eighth the split?
I actually have a lot of things to say about this, but I don't think this is like the time to go into full detail. I think, if anything, with the theme being trust the process, that onus is on me slash the coaching staff and not like on the players. And our lack of progress so far should be reflective of that rather than anything. I'm generally sad every time we lose, because if these were like two scrim games, not even just the same exact drafts, like the problems that occur, I think, happen way more and way worse on stage, which I can't get a good grasp of why it's happening. That has been like, I think, homework since the start of the year. And I think just bridging that performance between scrims and stage is going to be our consistent homework. And we've already, as soon as we lost the game, the coaches got together and we have like a new way as to how we want to go into next week and the future. So I think a drastic change will come. And it won't be like, in any case, swapping out player or anything like that. With the same players, we will just play different / better is what we're aiming for.
All right, I'm excited to hear that. Looking forward to drastic change, especially since you guys are playing Team Liquid, which is the team I hate the most. So hopefully you guys 2-0 them. I'm always really, really grateful to get Shopify interviews, whether it's after a win or after a loss. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep it in the video, but I did mention to Reven that every time I interview him, it's after a loss. Well, he mentioned that, and then I mentioned every time I interview you after that, you guys get a win. So hopefully we beat Team Liquid. Yeah, I really enjoyed that interview, especially since he just like gave all the deets. Like he didn't hide much. He answered all my questions. I'm sure he had stuff that he was thinking about that he didn't want to share, but overall, he answered all the questions. I don't normally ask a lot of gameplay questions, but I'm a huge Shopify fan, and I know fans can sometimes want to know what's going on, you know? But yeah, I think I'm not a fan of the Rumble into Skarner, but obviously they have their reasonings, like you heard. I'm gonna put a little clip at the end of after this. It's worth so much to me when they say stuff like this. Yeah, I'm very happy that he said that, and yeah, it just makes me very happy as a fan of this organization and as a person that cheers for them, that they acknowledge and that they are grateful, and it's really cool. They sent me a whole package. If you saw that, like this shirt, they sent it to me as a gift. They sent me like a really cool card saying like, "Hey, you're our super fan, so we're sending you a super gift." And they sent me like socks and like a hoodie and a beanie and a water bottle, which is right here, which I love the colors, by the way. It doesn't come out too great here, but it's like more purple than blue, but it is what it is. Yeah, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 2K, and take a listen.
If you enjoyed our package,
I loved it. Yeah.
keep doing the Lord's work. I think I appreciate your support. We do. We as a whole. A lot of our guys watch your interviews as well.